Well, you can throw out all of the records because tonight it doesn't matter. It's the annual battle between the Bulldogs, and Springdale kicks off to the purple Fayetteville Bulldogs, and they take the ball at the 7-yard line in what is some of the sloppiest conditions that you'll ever find in a high school football game. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Brooks, and I'm providing the play-by-play for. And we're looking forward to a great game tonight despite incredible weather. The field is just like a wet sponge, and before the kickoff I walked out onto the field and it just is incredible, and it is going to play a major role in this game tonight. Now both of these teams come into this game having had just some incredible setbacks. They began with a win in the Quad 4A West, and then have dropped every game since. And so we'll see what they do. Surprising pass on the first play by Fayetteville. He's got a man deep, and there's a Bulldog there, and it is knocked away at just the last moment by the Bulldogs. Drops back and just flung the football as far as they could throw it, and it was incomplete. It would have been quite a play for the Bulldogs. So Fayetteville comes back out. They're changing things around. Number 37, Shep Campbell, is their quarterback tonight. And boy, they've got a lot of things going in motion there as they finally come set. 2nd down and 10. He tries an inside handoff, and there's several Bulldogs there, and they stop him for what is a short gain. Well, the Bulldogs looking to get revenge after last year's 14-7 loss, and both these games are played in really terrible weather. Last year it was freezing cold, if you remember. This year it's just very wet. The temperature's not bad. Fayetteville trying a lot of different sets in hopes of throwing the Bulldogs off, but as yet they've been unsuccessful. There's a fumble on the play, and it's going to be recovered by Fayetteville. For the game, the crew, we were trying to decide who could guess how many turnovers would occur first, and it appears that Fayetteville, at least for the most part, gets the first turnover, but they let them turn over, but they recovered their own fumble, and so they're going to be in punting situation at 10:56. Bulldogs have one man deep, so they're going to put a good rush on the kicker. He gets off a fairly short kick. Wolf's the only man close. It gets a Fayetteville bounce, and the Bulldogs are going to set up with good yardage at their own 41-yard line. So that's where they. Tim Williams is the starting quarterback tonight for the Bulldogs, and we'll see if he can put some pop into this Fayetteville offense that last week showed some promising signs, and we'll see if they're able to put some points on the board tonight. Clock is being signaled. Well, now they're stopping. Chains aren't set. We're going to have probably a lot of things like that due to the inclement weather that we're experiencing. The chain crew having some difficulty, and the sidelines along the field are just incredibly sloppy. Well, the Bulldogs have had pretty good field position throughout the year and just not able to make things happen, though the first quarter has been their quarter. They've scored 53 points in the first quarter to their opposition's 5, and so hopefully they'll be able to jump out on top here this week. Of course, everyone has talked about last year the upset. Fayetteville beat Springdale, first time in 13 years. This is the first time in 15 years that this game is not going to decide who goes to the playoffs or a conference championship of some sort. So it's a different scenario for both Bulldog teams, and that's why I said at the top of the show you can just throw out the record book, because a win tonight would really take away a lot of bad memories that these young players have had in this football campaign. And so they're going to let it all hang out tonight, because there is no tomorrow for either of these teams. So here's Williams at quarterback. He puts Trollinger in motion, hands off inside, and it's going to be stuffed. Corey Wagner after Corey Wagner had a great week last week, and he is stuffed by the defender. Jarek Hutchinson was the first one in, and Fayetteville has some good defensive linemen, and they make a good penetration at that point and drop the Bulldogs back for a couple of yard loss. So it's going to be about a 2nd and 12 situation. Now again, the middle of the field down on this end is very, very sloppy. You can see the puddles there. There's again another handoff to Corey Wagner. He breaks a couple of tacklers. And one of the things they're doing too is they're going for the football early on. And Springdale's defense getting fired up, Fayetteville stopping Springdale. It's always hard when you call a Fayetteville-Springdale game because you're used to saying the Bulldogs, and you can't say that. But when I say the Bulldogs, I mean Springdale, of course, since I'm the home jobber here. So it's 3rd down and 10 from their 41-yard line, and we'll see what the Bulldogs are able to put together here on this long play. Williams comes down the line, cuts it back up. He's got a 1st and 10. He had one man to beat and just couldn't get by him. The number 34, Brian Burke, brought him down, but not before he makes the first down of the evening and the first one for the Bulldogs, and he gets the ball down. He's going to be marked at about the 41-yard line, and so that was a good run by Tim Williams. That looked like they had him stopped initially. They had good surge into the backfield, but Williams just broke a tackle and cut back up inside. Tried to stiff arm Burke to get away from him. If he had done that, he would have been off to the races. Here gives a handoff to Trollinger. He leaps over a man and falls forward and gets pretty good yardage on 1st down. And so he's going to have about 3 yards on the pickup, and it's going to give them a 2nd down situation at about 7 yards to go. 3-yard gain for the Bulldogs. Well, we've had the usual problems that we generally have with a football game. Everything's going just fine, but the rain throws not only the players some curves, but it throws us some curves as well. And so we hope that this game will come off well for us. 2nd down 7, ball from the 38. Here's Williams just sneaking forward. He breaks into the open and breaks free, and he's got one man to beat. He goes into the end zone for a touchdown, 38 yards. And I tell you what, that was the most unlikely touchdown play that I think you're going to see. Tim Williams just quarterback sneaks up the middle, and at the 8:06 mark, the Bulldogs jump to the lead 6-0. And what a shock for the Fayetteville Purple Dogs. There we go. We got the kicker as we get things set there. Well, we've got a timeout, Springdale, and that's their first timeout. With that timeout, we'll take a timeout. We'll be back in just a moment.
First National Bank of Springdale is with you every day. We're with you when you're planning your future, or when you're building your future, or when you're enjoying the rewards of your labor. We've been a locally owned bank since 1907, helping to make your dreams come true then, and helping to make your dreams come true now. We're everything you want in a bank. We're First National Bank of Springdale. We're with you.
Right. Well, here's the PAT attempt by Corey Wagner. And there's the snap, and the kick is up, and it's no good. And so the Bulldogs have a 6-0 lead over Fayetteville. And with that, we're going to take another break, and we'll be back in just 1 minute.
You're watching one of the world's most advanced big screen televisions on the market today. It's made by RCA. It's like bringing the theater home to you. Let Layman's bring a big screen RCA into your home.
Free delivery and in-store financing available. Open 7 to 6 Monday through Saturday. Layman's Furniture, Appliance, and Electronics, 509 East Emma, downtown Springdale. And tell them WL sent you.
What is pizza integrity? Pizza, pasta, salad, dessert. That's pizza integrity. That's Pizza Inn.
To love and to cherish.
To love and to cherish.
To forsake.
We've heard a lot about safe sex lately.
And cleave only to you.
And cleave only to you.
God set a plan all along.
As long as we both shall live.
Well, here we are back with the kickoff as the Bulldogs kick off again to Fayetteville. It's taken deep in Fayetteville territory, and he's brought down. And he's going to get up to the 25-yard line. That's going to be where they take possession of their second possession. They began their other possession at the 25-yard line, 4 plays and punted. And so we'll see what they're able to do on this. Brandon Hobbs not Brandon Hobbs. I'm sorry, I'll get it straight. That's Barry Noblin. And I'm thinking sophomore and trying to do about 4 things. So Fayetteville 8:01 as a 1st and 10, and we'll see what they're able to do. And again, they pull all kinds of shifting around. They run just a little crossbuck play. He gets good yardage, and before he's finally brought down, he gets up close to the 30-yard line. So good 1st and 10 yardage for the Purple Dogs, and just several of them brought them down. I think Dustin Douglas was one of the key tacklers on the play. Well, we appreciate you being with us all season long, watching these replays, and the Lord willing, we'll be back next year, and things maybe will be a little bit better for the Bulldogs. Well, tonight, Springdale's jumped ahead to 6-0 lead, so that's certainly exciting. Going to be short yardage situation there. The rain continues to fall down steadily, and this has really been an unusual year in that we have had rain either in the forecast or in games throughout. And of course, when it does this, the Springdale band will not march at halftime, so we won't be showing you their performance. 6:46 and counting. As Shep Campbell, the quarterback for the Purple Dogs, brings them to the line, hands off inside. He surges forward, but he appears that he is going to be tackled short of the 1st and 10. Ben Weber, one of the key tacklers in there. And it is going to be a 4th and short situation, and so Fayetteville is going to have to punt. Now, neither one of these teams can afford to fall behind by very much, and you can already see that they're in a very muddy spot. One of the things that's going to be a factor is the point afters down on the south end zone is just covered in water, and so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Wolf's going to let it bounce, and again, it takes a pretty good Fayetteville bounce, but it's going to be out of bounds at about the 34-yard line for the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs set up. They had a touchdown in their last drive, and we'll see what they will be able to do with this possession. Boy, I really appreciate our camera people in this kind of weather out in the extreme there. Rain and elements. There you see Josh Hammond's camera work as he's on top of the press box, and we're going to have a timeout for just a second here, and no indication as to just exactly what it is. Well, for some reason they're asking for 3 seconds to be put back on the clock. So some question about the clock, and now they started again. I'm not sure what that's going to do for anything. Josh Trollinger takes a handoff, breaks loose, and gets good yardage, is going to get up across the 40-yard line. They're going to mark him right at, well, looks like they're going to mark him right at the 40. And the ball is going to sit exactly on the 40-yard line. So that's about a 6-yard pickup. It'll be second down. 4 yards to go, short 4 yards to go for a 1st and 10. The rain is steadily falling. And Springdale's line thus far has made some good holds. Yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. Trollinger comes again in motion. Williams is coming around the end, and he just tucked the ball back up. And it may be that Springdale coaches feel like that Fayetteville's susceptible to runs around the end because thus far they've been able to be successful in that. Here's a key third down situation for the Bulldogs as they try to get things set offensively. Some confusion seemingly for them. Third down and 2, or actually, well, I call it a 3. The ball is at the 41-yard line, so Williams slipped down, only was given a yard. Here's the handoff to the fullback, Corey Wagner, and he's just pounced upon by the Purple Dogs, and so Springdale is going to have to punt after 4 plays on their second possession. Now, anytime you turn the ball over on any kind of kick or something like that, it's going to be crucial. And these snaps from the centers to the punter is going to be another crucial thing. And so we'll see what they're able to do, not only the punting, but then receiving of the punt. And Springdale's let 2 of the receivers just to let the ball bounce and pick it up. Fayetteville, heavy rush. And we're going to have a roughing the kicker penalty. It would have been close. Corey Wagner barely got it off, but they just really put it to him. And so Springdale is going to get a 1st and 10 via the penalty. And that's, if you're a Springdale Bulldog, doesn't really matter how it happens. It's nonetheless that it happens. So the Bulldogs up 6-0 at the 3:53 mark, and if I sound hesitant, it's because it's kind of hard to see out your window when it's all fogged up. I need windshield wipers on my window up here, and I'm sure you people really feel for me who remember that you were wet watching this game live. Of course, you're in your lazy boys now with a Diet Coke, reliving what we hope is a pleasant memory. See, we never know when we do this. You know, we're having fun and we think, hey, the Bulldogs are up, but, you know, I mean, there's a lot of time left and, you know, things could happen. But anyway, hey, it's great right now as we're visited by folks wanting to get in out of the rain, my wife particularly. Here's Tim Williams setting up with the ball at the 45-yard line. He takes the snap, hands off. We're going to have a penalty. Trollinger's going to get good yardage, and it's going to be wiped out. In the backfield usually means bad things for the offense, and it means that generally you're going to back up, and we'll see what the call is. They're talking to the Fayetteville captain, and so that's exactly what it's going to be. So Springdale is going to be assessed their first penalty of the night, and probably a motion penalty is what you generally find in these situations. And indeed that is what it is, so it'll make it 1st down and 15. So the Bulldogs of Springdale now sitting right at midfield. Tim Williams, the quarterback, the senior, being called upon by Gerald Williams to lead the Bulldogs. Same play, Trollinger, and he's got good running room. Bangs down across the midfield mark into Fayetteville territory, and he gets down to just almost the 40-yard line. So Springdale is able to move the ball very well. Oh, we've got a penalty, and so another call against the Bulldogs, so that's going to hurt them. If you're a parent of a sophomore, you know, we went through this agony Monday night when sophomores beat the Fayetteville sophomore team. We have a holding call, and it seemed like every time things happened good for Springdale Bulldogs, well, there was a penalty on the play. So it's from the point of the infraction, and it backs the Bulldogs up, and it's a big time penalty because you take away the yardage that Trollinger made, and they're at the 39-yard line, and it's a 1st down and 26. So that's really going to be difficult for the Bulldogs to make up. Fumbles the football, and he just goes forward. So far, the big plays for the Springdale Bulldogs have been the quarterback sneaks. It's so hard for me not to say just the Bulldogs, and of course you guys know who I'm talking about. 2:56 and counting is where we're at in this game. And it's still raining. If you were here, you remember this well. Here's Wolf in motion. He fakes a handoff, comes down, pitches to Wolf. He's not he does not have much running room. That's what I was trying to get out there, as we're trying to do about 45,000 different things here at one time. He is driven out of bounds. It stops the clock, and 2:40 is where we're at, and it's going to be a third down and about 18. And they've gotten back up to the 46-yard line, so at least from a field position standpoint, they'll be much better if they do have to punt. Now we got an official's timeout, and they're going to send a young man to the sideline, and it may be that he has a cut or something like that on him. And it's one of the effects of the days and age that we live in. If you're bleeding, you go out. Okay, 3rd and 18 from the 46-yard line. Wolf again in motion. Williams drops back, throws us he threw a great pass, but it looked like that quarterback and receiver just didn't quite have things together, and Brandon Anglin was the receiver, and so it's going to be incomplete, and that's going to bring up a punting situation for the Bulldogs. So a drive that began at their 34-yard line. It was helped out with a penalty and by the Purple Dogs for roughing the punter, and if they can return the favor again, Corey Wagner trying to get his hands dry. Here's the snap. It's a good snap, good blocking, good punt by Wagner. Is going to be taken and fumbled, and he's fallen down away from the ball. The Bulldogs have the ball, and what a break for Springdale Bulldogs. 38, Jeff Powers. And I tell you what, that's got to be a thrill for that senior. Big, huge turnover for the Springdale Bulldogs with the ball down at the 8-yard line. And that's just the kind of break that you want to happen. We talked about that, how it was going to be key receiving the ball. And I guarantee you, I bet you that not one more Fayetteville Purple Dog will try to field a punt. It was so wild. I felt myself, I couldn't even explain to you what happened. He was watching it, the ball just squirted out, and he fell down, and the ball went about 5 yards from him. So here's Williams with a 1st and goal. He hands off to Corey Wagner, comes to the outside, and we're going to wait for the mark just exactly, but it looks like he's going to have the ball down to about the 5-yard line is where they're going to mark that. .201 is where we're at, and indeed the ball is right at the 5-yard line. So it's 2nd and 5 for first at goal, actually, for the Bulldogs. Williams, Wagner, and Trollinger in the backfield. He hands off to Trollinger. He's got good running room. Bulldog linebackers converge on him and stop him at about the 2-yard line. Well, it may have even gotten down to the 1-yard line. It's incredibly hard for us to see for where we're at as of our window in the situation. We'll try to call it for you, and probably the crowd will do a good job of letting us know what happened. So 3rd and goal, 1:30 and counting. Williams takes his time at the line of scrimmage. He has plenty of time on the play clock. There's the handoff. Touchdown Bulldogs. Corey Wagner just dives the ball across at 1:21 on a 1-yard TD run. So Wagner, who does the PAT kicking, may not at this one, they may go for 2, puts the Bulldogs up 12-0, and that's the first time in 2 years the Bulldogs have scored 12 points. Last year had 7 points, and the Ice Bowl was almost what it was. It wasn't ice, but it was icy cold as we were at Razorback Stadium. And we'll see what the Springdale Bulldogs are able to do now. They're going to call a timeout. That's their 2nd timeout. Both have been on kicks. So let's take a break, and we'll be back in a moment.
We're on a first-name basis in communities from Magnolia to Mountain Home. We back the hometown heroes in dozens of high schools throughout the state. And for years, we've helped with first dates, weddings, and second homes. Last Saturday, we made the loan for the boat and had quick cash for the bait, too. In fact, wherever you live, a little of us will rub off on you. Because no matter where you go in Arkansas, the local color is true blue.
Some of America's most priceless treasures are not found in concrete and steel or on the side of a mountain, but in the faces of our children. In today's world, they need a firm moral and spiritual foundation more than ever.
Well, here we go for the PAT try. The Bulldogs are going to try to run it in, and after this, we're going to go to Brian Cody to get a report from the stands. Here's the play. Williams tried to get it in and just couldn't. He faked inside, but was unable to do it, and it's incomplete, so the Bulldogs lead 12-0. Let's go down to Brian Cody in the stands.
Well, it's a very wet and messy field out here in Springdale, but the offense is doing great. The score is now 12-0. Both sides are just pumped out here. The offense, like I said, they're doing a fantastic job. I just hope we can keep hold of the ball all night long. Back to you, Mark.
Well, thanks, Brian. Hopefully, I tell you what would be interesting is to let Brian show you just how spongy this field is. And boy, we're really asking people, our volunteers, to go above and beyond the call of duty, because the pay factor for our people who work these events, it doesn't go up, it doesn't go down, no matter what the elements. It's a freebie all the way around. I tell them every once in a while we'll double their salary, but it doesn't work. Double of nothing is still nothing. We appreciate our volunteers. And cameraman Randall Reynolds is the field cameraman down there, and he's doing just a good job tonight. Richard Bohannon's our director, along with Buck Webb helping us out. Corey Wagner is set to kick off. The Bulldogs lead 12-0 against the Purple Dogs, and the kick is taken down about the 11-yard line. Comes straight up the field. He has some fairly good running room, and he's going to be finally driven down. But Fayetteville is going to have perhaps its best yardage of the night, as they're going to mark him at about the 34-yard line. So Fayetteville, hoping to get something going, has just been unable to do anything thus far. They trail 12-0 here with 1:11 left in the first quarter. The field, if it was in bad shape before, is really getting pummeled now. And the Bulldogs trying to, well, I think defensively they're as confused as they possibly can be. Fumble on the play. Springdale jumps on it. And what a game for the Bulldogs. I tell you what, somebody asked me before the game, of course, we don't know how this is going to end, and you do. They asked me, how do you think this thing's going to settle? And I said, I tell you what, Springdale's always been tough in the mud. The Mudders of Springdale are at it again. Another big turnover, and they have 48 seconds in the first quarter, and the ball on the 33-yard line of Fayetteville. And so that's just a great turn of events for the Bulldogs. Williams fakes a handoff. He's got a man deep. He's got Friesen, and Friesen just falls. He really underthrew him, and Friesen was trying to cut back, and I don't think Tim saw him soon enough. They had the up man covered, and they'd let Friesen drift beyond the coverage, and he was at about the 12-yard line, and the ball was going to be behind him, and he just couldn't get around it, or he couldn't cut back to get it, and so it's incomplete and brings up a 2nd down and 10. So the Bulldogs showing that they're going to open up the offense a little bit, put the ball in the air. Friesen playing tight end tonight in the first half. Here's Williams handing off to Trollinger. He's going to bang down for Well, he's going to get a couple of yards before they bring him down. We'll take a commercial break at the quarter as to alert our director, and hopefully we can have time to come back to Brian Cody a little bit later. We've got about 5 seconds left, and so we're ending the first quarter with the Springdale Bulldogs ahead of Fayetteville 12-0, and so we'll be back in just a moment.
A baby cries, and Mama rocks away the harm.
Every day, abortion denies 4,000 tiny unborn babies the right to live, the right to be loved, the right to take that first big step. 4,000 abortions a day, 1,500,000 abortions a year is a lot of love denied.
Well, as you can see, the field is very, very wet this evening. Look at this the sideline here. It's a low spot in the field. Very wet. It's no wonder that we're having so many turnovers. Just a good thing to go in our favor right now. Let's hope we can keep our hands on the ball tonight. Back to you, Mark.
Well, thanks, Brian. You see just a little bit of what these players are contending with, and that is not abnormal. There are spots in the middle of the field that look just exactly like that, and it could play significantly because the Bulldogs are heading into that south end zone, or at least we hope they're heading into the south end zone, and about the place where you would set the tee to kick the point after, there's about I don't know, maybe a 3 or 4 yard puddle area, and it's going to be virtually impossible to kick extra points. Of course, the Bulldogs down 12-0, having missed their extra points, probably will want to try to run them in. All right, we're set now. As you hear some of the crowd trying to encourage the Bulldogs on 3rd and 8. Wolf goes in motion. Williams slips. Well, I tell you, he would have been able, and I think the coaches are probably going to take notice of that, he would have been able to just about do anything he wanted to do with that. He was going to roll out to his right, and he had blockers in front of him. There was really no one that would have been near him, and you can bet your bottom dollars the coaches are going to be taking note of that, because we may see that play again. It's 4th and 12, and it appears that the Bulldogs are going to punt and try to pin the Purple Dogs back deep. And Corey Wagner, of course, the Purple Dogs all up on the line of scrimmage expecting a fake, or at least perhaps going for a block. And it is a fake. Corey Wagner took it, and Fayetteville, they just had that one wrapped up. And it wasn't any chance at all, and so Springdale turns the ball over on downs, and so Fayetteville will have a 1st and 10, and really for them, perhaps the best yardage, in fact it is the best yardage that they have had all night long, as they're going to have it at the 37-yard line, is where they're going to set up for their 4th possession. Fayetteville still with the same quarterback, Shep Campbell, the junior. He sends a man in motion. Bulldogs pick him up. He passes to his split end, and the Springdale Bulldogs just converge on him. And that is just so indicative of what's happened many times in this season. The Bulldogs, there were probably 4 of them who converged on the receiver, and I don't know, he may have sprayed Pam on his jersey. He just scooted right out from underneath him. Some of the players have talked about spraying Pam on their jersey, to make them slippery. And maybe that's what he did. He just slipped right through the Bulldogs and made good yardage, 2nd down and 4, as he made 6 yards on a play that really he shouldn't have made anything at all. So Fayetteville not dead yet by any stretch of the imagination, and the Springdale Bulldogs do a good job of stopping him for about a couple of yard loss. Brian Smith-Peters, who has had a tremendous year for the Bulldogs, he's a leading tackler for Springdale at the nose man. This is going to be a key down for Fayetteville. They have not, as to this point made a 1st and 10 in this ball game. They have perhaps their best opportunity. A 3rd and a long 2. The ball is just outside the 45-yard line, their own 45-yard line. They spread things out a little bit. He hands off to inside man, and he is going to be very close, but is going to be marked short by about a half yard. And so it appears that Springdale once again has held, and they're doing a good job defensively. Well, they're going to measure. Well, I thought they were going to measure. I think that they've got a man that's going to go off. Well, no, they're going to measure. I thought they had a man injured, but what they're going to end up doing is measuring to see just exactly what the situation is. It looked like they had him marked far shorter than what he was. He is going to be short by about the length of a football, and so it really presents a decision time for Dick Johnson, Fayetteville's coach, because if you failed at this point, you'd really be handing the ball to Springdale deep, but it looks like he's going to go for it. Now, Springdale last week in this familiar situation was drawn off sides. Hopefully that doesn't happen, and it doesn't, but it looks like they're going to have a 1st and 10. So Fayetteville makes their first 1st and 10, and it comes at the 9:05 mark in the 2nd quarter. They keep their drive alive, and they move the ball up to almost the 49-yard line is where it's going to be marked finally. The clock is rolling, and Fayetteville, and it's going to be hard to read these young men's numbers. They're in white jerseys, and they're already extremely muddied. Now, they just moving all kinds of folks around. Looks like he fumbled the football. And we'll see. Well, they're going to mark that he recovered, and he's going to be dropped for about a half-yard loss. Now they're going to give him back to the line of scrimmage. And so it will be a 2nd down situation. To have any hopes in this ball game, Fayetteville really needs a drive here to get some points, because you don't want to fall behind in a game like this. Springdale has squandered some chances. They very well could be up by 3 touchdowns, but are up by 2, 12-0. Drop back pass by the Fayetteville quarterback. It's caught, but it's just sort of a diving catch, and he's going to make about 3 yards on the pass play, and it's going to bring up a 3rd down and about 5 yards for Fayetteville. Fayetteville has had some injuries, and Shep Campbell is the quarterback. He's a 5'10", 155-pound junior. And so the Fayetteville Bulldogs, after a good start this year, has struggled and suffered through some tough games. Here's a sweep play, and Springdale shuts him down, and he's going to be a couple of yards shy. It'll be a 4th down and about 3, and with that long of yardage, you would think that Fayetteville would be punting at this point. Well, we'll see. Dick Johnson fooled us the last time, and again, it's a situation where there's no tomorrow. You might as well let it all hang out, and they're doing it once again because they're going for it. There you see the shot as they make the 1st and 10. Well, they had him wrapped up and just were not able to bring him down, and how many times this season have we said that? And so the Purple Dogs keep the drive just inside the 40-yard line of Springdale. And boy, I tell you, if you were a coach right now, you really got to be pulling your hair out, because you have the Fayetteville Bulldogs down. They've been going twice, 4th down. They've made it. And it must be that, you know, you just say, hey, what are we going to lose? The game, so let's just go for it. And so they've made some adjustments as they make another 1st and 10 on a great run up the middle. So Fayetteville, who has been struggling, has their 3rd 1st and 10 on this drive. There is a penalty, and so it will wipe out the 1st and 10. We'll see what the call is going to be. Both teams now have had major penalties that have wiped out big gains. Illegal procedure is going to be the call, and so that's going to back Fayetteville up. We are at 6:22 left in the half.
5 yards against Fayetteville.
And we hope to have time at halftime to bring you a report from Brian Cody. Right as the half ends, we'll try to let you hear from him. Now they bring everything back in tight. 1st and 15 from the 45-yard line of Springdale. They try the same play again, and they're getting some good yardage. I mean, he gets about to the original line of scrimmage, just about a yard, half yard beyond that, and so that was about a 5.5-yard pickup. And so Springdale has been doing well defensively, now showing maybe some signs of tiring. Ball right at the 40-yard line. Campbell sends his men wide, tries to get his hands dry, drops back for a quick pass. He fumbles the ball, and I think he fell right on top of it. What we're going to have to see as they unearth all of those young men. It was going to be a pass play. He dropped back, and they're going to say that it's 3rd down. And the ball just fell right out of his hands. He was looking for, again, that little quick opener, and his man may have been covered because, well, there's a bulldog for you, a red bulldog. And hey, if he gets thirsty, he's got his own little water dish right there, huh? So it's 3rd down and 16. The ball's at the 46-yard line, and the shotgun situation, this could be tricky. He almost loses it, and the ball was underthrown. It wouldn't have mattered because I tell you what, Ben Weber had that thing sniffed out. Ben Weber, who's really come on strong at the end of the season, and he would have made the tackle, and they wouldn't have made any yardage whatsoever. So no yardage on the play. This ball's going to be at the 46-yard line, and this time Fayetteville, faced with a 4th and 16, is going to punt. There's a snap, and it's a good one. The Bulldogs had a shot at blocking it, but they were unable to do so. The ball's going to bounce down to about the 12-yard line, and that's where Springdale is going to set up shop on what will be their 5th possession of the night. The worst field position Springdale's had tonight. They have really benefited from the exchange and punts. They've had the ball at the 41, the 34, Fayetteville's 8, the 33, and now at the 12-yard line. 12-0 is the score. Tim Williams had a 38-yard quarterback sneak, and Corey Wagner a 1-yard touchdown run. 4:21 is where we stand. Ball at the 12-yard lines. Williams, the quarterback, he sneaks the ball again, gets good yardage. Just a little quarterback sneak play, and he gets about 4 yards is what they're going to mark him at. James Yeck comes in for the Bulldogs with the play. Bulldogs tonight starting 4 sophomores. And Coach Williams, I know, is excited about the prospects next year. One of the things he said, he didn't think he'd take much more of this kind of a year, and I think the fans would concur. It's been tough. There's Williams at the quarterback, and we're going to see a good shot. Trollinger comes around the end. He's got good running room. And I tell you what, we always tell our volunteers, if all else fails, protect the equipment. We can replace you. And that time, Josh Trollinger just about leaped into your living room as he came around the end. And a good job by Randall Renners there. And I tell you, when you're looking in a little bitty 1-inch viewfinder at a guy running at you, you don't know if he's going to hit you or get around you. And I tell you what, good courage to hang in there. Well, 1st and 10, a good run by Josh Trollinger. And so the Bulldogs putting a little drive together here. Here's the handoff again to Corey Wagner, and he just refuses to be brought down, even though he was met in the backfield. And I would think that the Fayetteville Bulldogs read the papers or maybe watched some films about Corey Wagner, because he had a great game last week from the fullback spot, and thus far tonight they've been shutting him down. So it's a second down. The ball's at the 30-yard line. It's 6 yards to go for 1st and 10. Time's going to be a big factor for the Bulldogs here, as well as the fact they have taken 2 timeouts on both their touchdowns on the PAT try, so they only have 1 timeout by my books, and that could factor into anything in terms of scoring. Here's a good play. Oh, good cutback. Wolf gets just pummeled at the end of that run. He made a great run, a good cutback, and the officials, boy, I tell you, I wonder about that, Mark. We're going to have a timeout for a measurement. Here you see the raindrops on our camera lenses. We have difficulty when it rains like this. And we're going to see what the mark is. 2:28, the clock stopped. That's one positive thing. Well, we're not able, because of that mass of players down there, to get a mark. Find out just exactly. Well, it's going to be short. It looks like it's short by about a yard or so. He's got the chain marked with his finger. 3rd down. We want to thank those of you who watched our program, and thank our sponsors: Lehman's Shopping Center, Worthen Bank, Pizza Inn, Elmdale Baptist Church, and First National Bank have been our sponsors this year, have made this possible. If you'd like to help sponsor Bulldog football next year, you or your business, well, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about our arrangements. 3rd down and 1. Ball's at the 36-yard line. Williams has been successful on the sneak. You wonder if he'd do it here, and he doesn't. And we have a flag, and we're going to back up, it looks like. And someone probably lined up off sides. Legal procedure against the Bulldogs, and they're going to back up and be a 3rd and 5 situation. Coach Williams talking to the official about that, and I don't know, it didn't look like he was too convinced that that was really what had happened, but it doesn't matter. It's 3rd and 5 now, so Springdale goes from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 5, and this would be a big down for Fayetteville, as you would think that if Springdale put into a punting situation, would at least go for the block. Hands off to Trollinger, and he just is unable to get going, slips down, and so Springdale at 150 and counting is going to have to punt, and Trollinger is simply unable to get anything going. Now, right at halftime, as the teams break, we're going to try to get a report from Brian Cody before we take a break. Be 1:30 and counting is where we're at, and so this is going to be crucial, this snap and punt, and the Purple Dogs are up looking for a block. Coy Wagner gets a good punt off, and there are no Purple Dogs around. That ball is going to roll down to the 27-yard line. And so that's where Fayetteville will set up. They had a good drive on their last possession, made some yardage up through the middle. Corey Wagner really pulled Springdale out of a hole there because they had a pretty good rush on. He was able to get the kick off, and it got a good roll as Fayetteville had no one back to receive it. Fayetteville huddles up, and quarterback Shep Campbell tries to get his hands dry. Fayetteville sends one man wide. Smith Peterson from a standing position drops back into linebacker. They send another man in motion. He's picked up by Brandon Hobbs. He looks deep for him. Williams has got a bead on the ball, and right at the last moment, one of the Bulldogs just went in front of him, and really it would have been an interception, but just and I don't know how you call that or what. It was almost a kind of a lame duck pass. You could have called that one, I suppose. But Brandon Hobbs went right in front of Williams just at the last moment, and the ball fell incomplete. So 2nd down and 10 as they're in the I formation, shift out of that back into the wing T. He fakes a handoff to one man and hands off to his running back, and he's brought down. And he's going to make about 4 or 5 yards on the play. Well, they're going to give him about 6 yards, and Fayetteville is going to stop the clock. Or actually Springdale is, and I'm not sure why. So with that timeout, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in 30 seconds.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. For more than 215 years, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps have responded to the challenges that have faced our nation. Challenges that required courage and determination. Maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
Well, we're back, and you can see from that shot the rain that has continually been falling throughout the first half of this ball game. Springdale called a timeout. It's a 3rd and 4 situation. There's 51 seconds left on the clock. Fayetteville pulling some little odd plays there. And that didn't work too well for them, so they're going to be faced with a 4th down situation, and they'll have to punt. Springdale really will not have much time to do anything with this if they do get the ball back. There's 28 seconds left. They've yet to set the 25-second clock. They started it, and really I don't think they'd need to snap the ball at all. Halftime will run out. They took an incredible amount of time to get the ball set up, and I think that the Purple Dogs are not even going to risk it at all, and that is going to be the half, and that's the way it looks, as the 25-second clock and the clock to the game are exactly the same. And so that's it. Springdale Bulldogs are going to go in the locker room leading 12-0. And we're going to have a report from Brian Cody along the sideline. Then we'll come back to me for some closing remarks. So let's see if we can find Brian.
Well, it's halftime up here in the student section at the Springdale Bulldogs side. 12-0 is the score, and I just can't say enough how excellent the offense is doing. This crowd is really pumped. It's raining, it's cold, yet these guys are still hanging in there. It's a great game so far. Back to you, Mark.
Well, there you see it. We're ahead 12-0, and we'll be back with the second half in just one moment. Well, welcome back as we begin the third quarter. The Springdale Bulldogs ahead of the Fayetteville Bulldogs 12-0. And we hope that it'll end on just a happy note for the Springdale Bulldogs as it has in the first half. Here you see Corey Wagner set to kick off. Springdale took the lead in that first quarter, which has been their quarter. Tim Williams, 38-yard touchdown sneak. And then after a turnover on a punt, Corey Wagner banged over from the 1-yard line, and that put Springdale up 12-0 as both point after attempts failed as they try to get a dry ball out on the field, I'm sure. The elements have factored a great deal in this ball game. A lot of slipping and sliding around, some fumbling. The Springdale Bulldogs have not had the turnover that Fayetteville has had. And so we're set to begin this second half. Corey Wagner puts his toe into the ball. It goes down to about the 15-yard line, and he gets smacked hard at about the 26-yard line. And so that's where the Bulldogs will set up from Fayetteville at their own 26-yard line. Fayetteville never really had good field position in the last quarter or last half, and so that was one of the keys. They were able to put one drive together, and it finally sputtered out. So we'll see what Springdale is able to do defensively, as Fayetteville was able to open up some things late in the second quarter, and we'll see if they can do the same thing. They try a running play up the middle, and just sort of a rugby scrum type of play. Fayetteville's big linemen just keep driving forward, and he's going to make about 5 yards on the play. Well, for the first time in the game, Jim Ed Reed has come into play. And so we'll see what Coach Williams does with some of the players that he held out in the first half. New quarterback for the Fayetteville Bulldogs, that's number 14, Jared Fraley. Fraley spins, comes down the line. He's got running room, he's got a 1st and 10. As he gets to, they're going to mark him right at the 40-yard line, and if Fayetteville stands here, we're up trying to get their team fired up. A good run there by Fraley as he's just spun around, came down the end, and was able to make a 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs. 8 yards was the pickup. Now, we mentioned throughout the first half, both these coaches sort of rolling the dice, nothing to lose. There is no tomorrow for these teams. And so Fayetteville coach Dix Johnson goes with a different quarterback. Handoff inside, good running room. He breaks several tackles and finally is brought down by Reed, but not before he picks up good yardage. And so he picks up about 6 yards on the play. It's going to be a second down. They're going to give him 7 yards, so it's going to be a second down and 7 for the Bulldogs. So Fayetteville quickly establishing some things offensively here. Now they've split out. They've shown a variety of offensive sets in this game. He hands off inside, and he's going to be stopped for maybe a yard gain. And so it'll be a key pivotal third down. The rain falls even harder. I don't know that there's been a time in this game that it has not rained. It's a 3rd and 2 situation, and Dick Johnson showed in the first half that he was going to go on 4th down in his own territory, did so twice, and you would think that if he was short here, he probably would go for it again. This drive is consuming some time off the clock, and that may be to the benefit of the Springdale Bulldogs. Fumble on the play, he picks the ball up and is going to get up about a yard shy, and it's going to be a 4th and 1 situation. And so big decision for Fayetteville whether or not they'll go for it. I tell you what, Fayetteville has some huge players. Number 90, I'm looking for him listed. He's not listed on the chart. There, well, no, we haven't found him yet. They've got one guy, 325 pounds. You can just ride on their back. We're going to try to find number 90, their tight end, and he's huge. 4th and 1, 8:41, and they're going to try to get a fresh ball in there. The referee's doing a good job trying to keep the ball dry. Still no indication of who that player was. You see him coming this way, and he is huge. Springdale right up on the ball. We've got a good vantage point, and they're going to call offsides or something. We'll see what the call is. Springdale had good penetration, and it's going to be against the Springdale Bulldogs. And the coaches are very upset about that, but that's going to give Fayetteville the second 1st and 10. They were lined up awful close, and I thought they had the play stopped. And you can see the Springdale Bulldogs just really shaken by that, yelling at one another, encouragement. And I think that this is going to be key. Joe Davenport in. The ball in Springdale territory now to their own 47-yard line. Puts a man in motion. There's the handoff inside. Again, good running room before he's finally brought down. And what is a big key for the Bulldogs here, for the Fayetteville Bulldogs, is that they're getting good yardage on 1st and 10. And he gets about 4 yards on that play. You can see the elements. We got foggy camera lens there. Our poor cameraman Josh Hammond's on the concession stand, and if he's not drenched, this will be Josh's last year. He plays football on the sophomore team, and I'm sure that he'll be out there next year suited up. Well, here we go, 2nd down and 6 from the 43. No running room, but he makes some and is finally brought down. And this is really a drive of determination, as you can see that both these teams playing for pride. Springdale Bulldogs in the middle of that quagmire, a 3rd down situation for Fayetteville. Third and 3. They split things out wide. Now they're set. 7:09 mark. He hands off, or fakes a handoff to the inside man, and he's converged upon by the Bulldogs, and they drop him for a loss. Dustin Douglas, one of the leaders in there for the Springdale Bulldogs. Dustin Douglas has had a great year and came on, and I know have to have been a pleasant surprise for the Springdale coaching staff. And how many times you see that a senior comes and just sort of asserts himself late in the year, and that's exactly what's happened. 4th down, it's a big series, a big down in this game. The ball's at the 40-yard line, 6:27 and counting. The rain is really coming down now. He drops back for a quick pass. They're going to say caught that, and that is, boy, I tell you, that one looked like it bounced. I'll have to watch the replay on that, but doesn't matter. We can boo all we want to. They're going to give it to them. That's their 3rd 1st down. And the fans here for Springdale really boo that one. Fayetteville may have got one on that one. It's a 1st and 10. About the only thing you can say for this drive is it's really taken a lot of time off the clock, and it may be that one of the things that Springdale can take solace in is that they're 12 points ahead, and those are big 12 points on a night like tonight. But Springdale needs to show some defensive stamina in here. He has a handoff, breaks a tackle, and gets down close to 1st down. He fumbles the football. The Springdale Bulldogs recover. Well, the Springdale Bulldogs needed a break, and they got it. Fayetteville driving on Springdale right at 6 minutes. And how many times do you see a running back on the 2nd effort lose the football? And so Springdale is going to have the ball to begin the 2nd half at their own 27-yard line. They dodged a bullet there, and one of the great things about that is that it did indeed take a lot of time off the clock. Now Springdale hopefully can put a drive together themselves. Trollinger takes the ball, comes around the right end, surges forward, good yardage on 1st and 10. He's going to make about 5 yards, and so it'll be 2nd down and 5 situation. I tell you what, these players will remember this game all their lives. And some of you fans may well remember this game all your lives as the game you froze in the rain. Luckily, it's not as cold as it had been earlier in the week, but this is probably the worst I've ever seen this field, and it's a good thing for this field standpoint it's the last game, because I'm not sure it could endure any more football games. Here's Williams, a handoff again to Trollinger. He breaks forward, and we're going to have a penalty. I think we have a face mask. And that'll give a 1st and 10 for the Springdales Bulldogs, and indeed that is exactly what it is. And so Springdale makes their 1st and 10, first and 10 of the first half. Fayetteville gets another penalty. All in all, the ball game has been played rather well. Both teams has been able to avoid the penalty situation. And there you see, in for the first time tonight, Clay Galloway. So some of the Bulldogs who had to sit out in the first half being inserted into the game, and I know they're thankful to be able to do that as seniors, and hopefully everybody's learned a lesson. Well, Red Dogs moving the football. The ball's right at the 50-yard line. 4:48 on the clock. Williams pitches out to Trollinger. He gets by a man, puts his head down and drives forward, and we've got a penalty play, and we may have a hold on the play.
Pushed out of bounds by number 25, Kendrick.
Well, we have an illegal block, and it's going to back the Bulldogs up. So Trollinger's good run is going to be wiped out, and the Bulldogs are going to head the wrong direction. Big penalty against the Bulldogs, and that's their first penalty, and the second half, their third of the game overall. And you can see the kind of situation it sets up for them. It gives them the ball, and it was from the spot of the infraction, and so you're looking at a 1st and 20 is what you're looking at. The ball's on the 39-yard line. Williams takes the sneak, and he doesn't get much that time. And tell you what, some Fayetteville players get up a little excitedly there. So 2nd down. The scoreboard says 14, but it's 19 yards. The announcer makes the accurate play or call. Here's Williams looking things over. Takes the snap, hands off to the up man, and he doesn't get much yardage. A couple of yards on the play. It's going to set up a 3rd down situation. 3:30 and counting for the Springdale Bulldogs, who have their first possession in the second half after a big turnover. Fayetteville driving, and Springdale able to strip the ball from the running back, and that is the story so far of this second half. Springdale up 12-0. Here's Williams with Wolf in motion. He fakes to Wolf, comes around his right end. He's trying to get outside a man, but is unable to, and is dropped at the 34-yard line, and that's a big, big defensive play for the Fayetteville Bulldogs. Springdale started at their 50-yard line and just went backwards. So Springdale's going to have to punt now, and Corey Wagner has really saved the Bulldogs several times this season with some excellent punting, and they've almost blocked his punt a couple of occasions tonight. Once he took a roughing the kicker penalty, and so the Purple Dogs again lined up looking to try to get a block, and of course the crucial thing is the snap, and there it is. It's a good snap. Corey Wagner gets it off very, very quickly, and again, just a great punt. The Fayetteville Purple Dog falls on it, and I tell you what, if you give a most valuable player ball, you gotta, I think, give it to Corey Wagner. Thus far, you don't normally think about punters being so significant in a ball game, but that is a tremendous punt, because that backs the Fayetteville Purple Dogs up to their 17-yard line. So the Fayetteville coaches had to have thought that, you know, we've got the ball in good situation now. And Corey Wagner pins them back deep. Let's see what Springdale defense is able to do. They weren't able to stop Fayetteville at all until that turnover. He hands off inside, and there's good running room, but they're going to drop him for a couple of yards on the carry. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's almost like a rugby scrub. He just hands the ball off to them. And I tell you what, John Madden would love this football game. You know, you watch John Madden, he always talks about players being dirty and guys having part of the field on their helmet. I mean, look at Josh Trollinger. You look this way, his pants are almost brown, and he's got dirt all over him, and they're wet. This is really a football game. No artificial stuff here. As Fayetteville sets up in the shotgun situation, spreads the field. Smith-Peters puts a tremendous rush on the quarterback. He had him in his grasp, but lets him go. The ball was tipped, but it's going to fall incomplete. Wolf made a great play, tipped the ball, and it wasn't anyone behind him. Smith-Peters just could not bring the quarterback back down. He had him in his grasp barely, but he was able to elude the rush. And it'll be a 3rd down 7 situation from, well, the ball is just at the 19-yard line, almost at the 20-yard line. Rain let up a little bit now, it seems like, but it's still coming down pretty hard. Shotgun formation. He's going to draw right up the middle. Trollinger chasing him. Finally sets up and tries to pass, but it falls incomplete, and so Springdale holds, and the Fayetteville Bulldogs are going to have to punt. You may see a lot of passing, particularly we're not far from being into the 4th quarter. It seems like that was a very fast 3rd quarter, even though there was some pass plays. Here you see Wolf, he's the lone setback, and I would imagine that the coaches have probably told him just let that ball bounce. Springdale puts a fair rush on. Wolf calls for a fair catch and catches it. Well, just about time I say somebody's going to do something, they do just the opposite. Wolf catches the ball, and that's probably a good play in that it does not get the kind of bounce that Fayetteville got earlier. And so Springdale's going to set up with some pretty good field position. They've got the ball at their 42-yard line, and we'll see what they're able to do on this, their 2nd possession. Good field position if Springdale could just maybe make a 1st down or 2 and punt and pin the Purple Dogs back with 2-touchdown lead. That's significant in this game. Springdale jumped out ahead in the 1st quarter, and it's been kind of a defensive struggle since. Tim Williams gets popped, and you see the Fayetteville defensive players trying to go for the football. He's going to lose about a yard on the play. He gets up rather slowly, and one of the concerns for Tim Williams is his knee and how long he could go at the quarterback slot, and he's getting up slowly now. There you see the Bulldogs breaking a huddle. There's 25 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, and this will probably be the last play of the 3rd quarter. 2nd and 11. Williams hands off to Trollinger. He breaks back inside and is going to pick up about 3 yards on the carry as we move down to the end of the 3rd quarter. So the Springdale Bulldogs stop the Fayetteville Purple Dogs on their one lone drive, and we come to the end of the 3rd quarter. Springdale is ahead 12-0. We'll take a break, and we'll be back in just one moment.
We're on a first-name basis in communities from Magnolia to Mountain Home. We back the hometown heroes in dozens of high schools throughout the state. And for years, we've helped with first dates, weddings, and second homes. Last Saturday, we made the loan for the boat and had quick cash for the bait, too. In fact, wherever you live, a little of us will rub off on you. Because no matter where you go in Arkansas, the local color is true blue.
What is pizza integrity?
Pizza, pasta, salad, dessert.
That's pizza integrity. That's Pizza Inn.
Well, we're back.
It's Brian Cody again.
Well, we're with Brian Cody.
12-0. Very top of the 4th quarter. A couple more turnovers later, and the score is still 12-0. Springdale still is playing a fantastic ball game. I'm here with Leslie, Michelle, Amy, and Nikki, and there's very dedicated fans tonight. What do you think about the game, Amy?
It's wet.
It's very wet. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, we're back in a situation. The Bulldogs have a 3rd and 9. at the 43-yard line. They run the play to Wolf, and he gets some good yardage, but it is going to be well short of the 1st and 10 mark. He gets up across the 45-yard line to about the 47-yard line, and Springdale will be called upon to punt. But nonetheless, one of the things we talked about, Springdale has had good field position and is able to, if they can get off a successful punt here, be able to pin the Fayetteville Bulldogs back deep and make them have to go for a long touchdown run. There's a snap. It's a good snap. Corey Wagner gets a good punt off. It's going to be fair caught by the Purple Dogs, and he's going to do so at about the 19-yard line. And so Fayetteville sets up at their 19-yard line. There's 11:15 left in this game, and Springdale holds at this point a commanding 12-0 lead. Fayetteville huddles in the puddle. I don't know if we get a shot of that, but I mean, they just are, they're in inch-deep water. There they break out of the, you can see how soggy it is every time they take even a step, and they're going to call a timeout. Well, with that timeout, we'll take just a break, 30-second break, and we'll be back in a moment.
You're watching one of the world's most advanced big screen televisions on the market today. It's made by RCA. It's like bringing the theater home to you. Let Layman's bring a big screen RCA into your home.
Free delivery and in-store financing available. Open 7 to 6 Monday through Saturday. Layman's Furniture, Appliance, and Electronics, 509 East Emma, downtown Springdale. And tell them WL sent you.
Well, we're back. 11:15 left in this game. And thus far, it has been a great game for the Springdale Bulldogs. They're hanging on to 2 first-quarter touchdowns. And with the kind of weather that we have tonight, it may be that this is an insurmountable lead for the Purple Dogs. We certainly hope so, because, frankly, I hate rolling up the cords when the Bulldogs lose, and last year was really discouraging in all of that freezing cold weather and in this rain, and we'd like to roll the cords up with a victory. So here we are, 1st and 10 from the 19. He does some play fakes. Dustin Douglas drops him for a huge loss. Dustin Douglas, Dustin has ordered copies of all the games, and Dustin, I'm sure that you're probably going to be watching this for years to come. That was a great play at a great point in time, and it drops them for a 5-yard loss. 2nd down, 15. Here's the snap. He hands off, fakes a handoff. He's rolling out to his left, gets a rush, throws to his huge tight end. Play just took forever to develop. Well, they say it's Jeremiah Washburn. He's listed as 72. They've changed his jersey. He's 6'7", 267 pounds, and he is a hoss. Now, they're going to measure. I think he's got a 1st and 10, but it may be that he's about an inch or two short. And so that would be a tremendously huge play for Fayetteville, because they would have to come back. They would have come back from that quarterback sack on the last play. And I tell you what, 14, Jared Fraley is showing a lot more, and they do indeed have a 1st and 10 than the first half quarterback for them, which was Shep Campbell. He rolled out, and it was just slow developing. They had a couple of play fakes inside that froze everybody, and then it just sort of strung it along out to his left as he rolled out and finally found that huge tight end. You'd have to say he's a major college prospect. Again, they moved several players around, and it looks like the Springdale Bulldogs are a little bit confused. They throw the short play. They're going to have a penalty. And I'm not sure exactly what they're going to call. Holding on the Purple Dogs, and that's going to back them up. So Fayetteville is going to get another costly penalty. It's their 3rd of the game. Both teams have 3 penalties. This has been an incredible year, and it's just, you had all kinds of weather problems. This is the second game that it's rained throughout. At least we didn't have any snow this year, but this is the kind of football team that really should be played for a playoff spot tonight. The Springdale Bulldogs, but just has had some unfortunate turn of events, and tonight we hope they walk away with a big victory. Sweet play by the Purple Dogs there in a deep hole, and get maybe a couple of yards on that play. Coach Williams sending several players in, some fresh players. Tim McDonald coming into the game. The clock is moving at 9:37, and that's got to be a big enemy for the Fayetteville Purple Dogs. Second down, 16 is the mark. The ball's at the 24-yard line. One man split out wide. They send everybody in motion. He looks deep, and good play by Wolf at the last moment. He had a man open, but he made a good play and broke the pass up, because it would have been close to a 1st and 10. And Wolf has to take his helmet off. He must have got a mouthful of mud. So it's a 3rd down situation, about 16 yards to go. The ball's at the 24-yard line. And all things considered, you'd have to say that the Springdale Bulldogs did a good job turning out on this dismal night. So you remember how dismal it was. It may still be wet. Screenplay by the Fayetteville Purple Dogs, and a good rush put on the quarterback, and he just was unable to get the ball away, and so it falls short. And the Springdale Bulldogs have held, and as a result, Fayetteville is going to be forced to punt at 9:08. Springdale puts 10 men up on the line of scrimmage, and he gets the punt off. Wolf just lets it bounce. It takes a Fayetteville roll and rolls to about the 34-yard line. 8:58, 34-yard line is where the Springdale Bulldogs are going to set up. With a 1st and 10, and this is a great time, would be, for Springdale to make a couple of 1st and 10s and take control of this ball game and get out of here with a big win. This is the kind of win, even though they've had a tough year and would leave them at 3 and 6, that could propel you into next year. Of course, Fayetteville felt like last year's win against Springdale would do that for them, and they've had their difficulty this year. Williams, quick handoff inside. Corey Wagner just bounces off people and does what he did last week. He makes about 6 yards on that play, and that's exactly what the Bulldogs have been needing to have happen, is some good play by the fullback and a good play again on 1st and 10. And that's really a key situation. Several Bulldogs coming into the game. Rodney Ludwig, one of them, coming in now along with Wolf. So we'll see what Coach Williams calls now, as it seems to rain even harder than it has throughout the game, if that's possible. There's a handoff inside to Corey Wagner. He just keeps going. He's got a 1st and 10. He just kept churning, kept moving his feet. We talked about that with Josh Trollinger before on several occasions, and Corey Wagner showed the same thing you want from your running back, and that is that when you're hit, you do not stop moving your feet. So that's what he did. There you see the offensive huddle. Bud Webb's our cameraman down here. He has usually been freshman this year. He's doing the field camera work down there. Now we know we have some audio trouble with my microphone. We think that's because of the weather in our mics. Corey Wagner just surges forward, and it's almost like these Springdale Bulldogs have said, this is our game, you're in our place, and we're going to take control of what time is left. Big big first and 10 run as he gets about 8 yards on first down, and the Bulldogs beginning to feel pretty confident on the sideline about how this one is going to go. You can see some of the high-fiving already. But let me tell you something, it isn't over on a night like tonight. Here's a handoff play. Rodney Ludwig, good running room, and Ludwig makes a first and 10. Just a quick little pop, and Coach Williams putting in several players for the first time, and Ludwig did a great job. Cut back inside, makes the first and 10. Ball's at the 38-yard line for the Springdale Bulldogs. Boy, you'd like to see him get another touchdown, wouldn't you? Williams takes his time, sends Ludwig in motion, hands off to Wolf. Wolf sheds some tackles, comes around the end, and is finally ridden down. He's going to pick up maybe 2 or 3 yards. In between that play, as Bulldogs came a line of scrimmage, you could hear the coach of Fayetteville yelling out to his players, "Don't give up, don't give up." Brian Kicks, senior, in for the Bulldogs now. Coach Williams had said he wanted to play as many seniors as he possibly could. Chris Edelton is also in. As you can tell, some of the young men in for the first time is they're the guys with the white pants on. It won't stay that way for long. Second down and 8's the situation, and they're right in the middle of the muddiest part of the field. Tim Williams has gone all the way at quarterback. He fakes the handoff to Edelton, and he's dumped for a great, big, huge loss. And just a good play by Fayetteville defender. That was number 34, Brian Burke. And so 5:40 and counting is the mark, and the ball's coming back to the 45-yard line. There's the scoreboard. 5:26 and counting. There's the Bulldogs break the line of scrimmage, third and down situation. And you think that probably Coach Williams would be a little conservative here with the 12-0 lead this late in the game. We'll see. And he's going to have a screen pass. Wolf is going to be tackled as the play was read really well. And they're going to lose another couple of yards on that. Fayetteville calls a timeout. We'll keep it here during the timeout. I'm not sure if we've got Brian Cody still around. He may have gone home. Well, where we're at in the ball game, 4:58, Fayetteville has taken a timeout. I'm not sure if that is their first or second timeout in the half. Well, let's go to Brian. He's down on the field, and we'll see what he has to say.
Okay, this is Brian. Score is still 12-0. We have 4 minutes and 58 seconds left, and we can just keep our hands on the ball. We'll be all right. I'm up here in the student section again. And were any of you guys involved in this little incident?
No, I wasn't. The people we know were.
Well,
real close right now, you know? I mean, no, we're involved.
You were involved in that incident?
No comment on that.
Okay. He's pleading the fifth. I'll find out more about this, Mark, and I'll get back to you.
All right, here we are back with another situation where Corey Wagner needs to do the thing he's done all year long, get the Bulldogs out of a tight situation. He gets a good, quick punt. Anything that just gets off is a good punt. It just dies. I mean, that is a case of a punt just dying. But it's going to be a good situation for Springdale in that they have eluded the hard rush by Fayetteville on the punt. And Corey Wagner has just done a good job of putting things down deep. And so Fayetteville, who really has not had good field position all night long, sets up from their 24-yard line. And I would think that with 4:49 left, you'd see them put the ball in the air, and defensive linemen probably down there salivating right now, just thinking about an opportunity to get to dump the quarterback. They're going to spread things out, set up in a shotgun situation. They need 2 scores. He dropped or almost dropped the ball. He has a man in the middle of the field open. It's going to be a 1st and 10. It's number 4, his wide receiver, Nick Bradford, who's a 6'5", 155-pound junior, and a good looking wide receiver. So that's the 5th first down by Fayetteville. They come quickly to the line of scrimmage because the clock only stops for as long as it takes to get the chain set. This game is not over yet, even though Springdale has dominated 12-0. There's a snap. Bulldogs tip the ball, and it was almost intercepted. Almost intercepted by Chris Johnson. It was tipped from the line of scrimmage. I didn't see exactly who tipped the ball. Ball's incomplete, so it makes it 2nd down and 10. Fayetteville breaks from the line of scrimmage. 4:21 is where we stand. Quick pass, it's incomplete. And he just tries to get the ball off as quickly as he could to one of his wide receivers, but it fell incomplete. 3rd and 10. They've got to get up across the 45-yard line for a 1st and 10. They again spread things out. He has one man in the backfield with him. There's the snap. Good rush by the Bulldogs. They're going to flush him out of the pocket. He's going to throw the ball, and he's going to catch that ball. An incredible catch by the Fayetteville receiver. That was number 6 for Fayetteville, Ben Shankle. And Ben Shankle, that's got to be a thrill for him. He's a sophomore. Well, Springdale doesn't have this one locked up yet. Fayetteville quickly comes to the line of scrimmage as they did not mark him as being out of bounds. And so Springdale's defense flushed the quarterback out of the pocket, but he was able to throw the ball, and they're saying, well, it was out of bounds. So the clock is stopped, and that gives Fayetteville time to get into the huddle and call a play. Rain has let up a little bit. 1st and 10, 32-yard line of Springdale Bulldogs. Hands off, and the Bulldogs are there, and they stop him. Kirby Burks, one of the players who dropped the running back, and he may have gotten a, well, he may have lost a half yard. Sort of say he may have gained an inch or two, but they're going to mark him for about a 6-inch loss or so. We're at 3:48, and these Springdale Bulldogs, I want to tell you right now, Springdale is not going to lose this game. They're going to play determined, but Fayetteville making a go of it. Good play by, oh, what a horrendous call. Well, the only thing he could call, and he couldn't see it, Tim Williams jumped up and tipped the ball in the air. The only thing he could have called is that he had his hand on his back, but I don't know how he could have seen that because he was away from it. And you can hear how the Springdale fans feel about that. I'm not too sure about that one. Now, if it had been the other official on the other side who threw the flag, I might have been more understanding, because the only thing that he could have said was that he had his hand on his back, but he tipped the ball and was going for the ball, and I personally have to wonder about that. But nonetheless, this game really isn't over. I'm predicting a victory here, going out on a limb, but you know, Fayetteville has only to score and make an extra point, onside to score again, and the game would be theirs. So the Bulldogs really need to tighten up here. The ball's at their own 19-yard line, 3:36 left, and they've been unable so far really to get any kind of pressure on the quarterback. Joe Davenport gets the pressure on him this time right as he's throwing the ball, and it's incomplete. So the defensive line for the Springdale Bulldogs come charging through at a crucial moment. The clock does stop on that at 3:30. So I try to lean my head out and see. Big down, he drops back. He completes the pass, but he's going to be dropped, and he's not going to make very much at all on that play. The bad thing for Fayetteville, he picks up about 3-4 yards on that, is the clock keeps running. as he threw a short pass into the middle of the field. There's a snap. Good play by Tim Williams, and he almost could have picked that thing off, and if he'd got a hold of that, he'd still be going down the sidelines. 4th down and 6 now for Fayetteville. And so the whole game for the Purple Dogs at this point comes down to here, because if they don't make it here, Springdale could run out the clock, but even if they held them, they would not have the time to put together 2 scores. They still could do it at this point. Drops back, looks for a man, and it's intercepted in the end zone. A fantastic play. Springdale's Lindsey Eichner, a senior. And Lindsey will remember that one for a long, long time. A key play for the Bulldogs. And I tell you what, if Don Meredith was here right now, he'd be singing, because it's all over. You can turn out the lights. The Springdale Bulldogs have gotten back the revenge that they need. They hold a 12-0 lead at 2:53, and barring some catastrophe, they're going to walk away with a big, huge victory against their arch rival, Fayetteville, all of the strength of 2 first-quarter touchdowns. So Springdale at 2:53 really needs to make a 1st and 10, hold the ball. Good running play there as they go for the ball, but Corey Wagner busts it loose and hangs on to the football. Fayetteville is going to call a timeout. And we'll see if we can get some reports during this timeout. We'll keep it here from our man on the sidelines. And if we can do that, we're looking for it. There's the Springdale Bulldogs while we wait to see if we can get a hold of Cody. Ron Cody's the youth minister at Elmdale Baptist Church. Gives me an opportunity while we're looking for him to remind you that if you're looking for a church home, we'd like to invite you to Elmdale Baptist Church. And if you're a student, we have a tremendous student impact meeting the first Wednesday night of every month. And also every Wednesday night, Bible studies by Brian Cody. And we'd love to have you. A lot of these Springdale Bulldogs come to Elmdale Baptist Church. And we'd like to have you come and be a part of that ministry also. It's good to be a winner, and I tell you what, if you really want to be a winner in life, I would encourage you to make a commitment of your life to Jesus Christ, because that's what we talk about. Talk about how to know Christ as your Savior, and talk about a winner. There's Coach Gerald Williams, and it's good to see him being able to wrap up this season with a big, big win. 2nd down, 3. Corey Wagner takes the handoff, and he's going to dive up close to the 1st and 10 territory, and they're going to call timeout because I think it may be close enough for them to measure it. Well, Fayetteville, and they're going to call that a 1st down. Fayetteville probably, you'd have to say maybe statistically has dominated Springdale in the 2nd half. They've had 7 first downs. It's only the 4th first down for Springdale. But they couldn't overcome the big first-quarter lead that Springdale built up. And what a different sight it is along the sideline this year as it was last year. A lot of smiling faces, and you just got to feel good for these players who've been involved in so many close, tough games. It could very easily be that this team would have only had 1 loss or maybe 2 losses this year. They fought hard, and they're hanging in there, and tonight they're going to be able to come home with a tremendous victory as Corey Wagner may add to the score. He's got another 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs, and it may be that that's about it for the Purple Dogs in terms of the fact that they may know that it's all over and it's academic from this point on. The Corey Wagner comes out. He's got a piece of the field on his helmet, and tell you, he has played a tremendous game. Most importantly, I think, has been his punting ability as he's backed up Springdale with just some great punts as we move now under 2 minutes. 1st and 10. The ball's at the 41-yard line. Well, now this is an interesting situation because in for the Bulldogs running the football is Tim McDonald. So Tim McDonald at the running back position takes a handoff, and he gets about 4 yards on the play, so it'll be a 2nd down and 6. Gives me time to thank those who have worked so hard. Richard Bohan is our director tonight. Buck Webb was helping him. Buck's also on the field camera now. Randall Reynolds ran field camera. Josh Hammonds was running the camera on the concession. Shelley Williams was here in the press room with me, and Valerie Brooks was helping as a spotter and gopher. And so she actually went and got me clean dry socks. They were clean, they just were wet. Here's a play to kick, and he gets about 3 or 4 yards on the play. Brian Kick. Coach Williams putting in a host of seniors, giving them an opportunity to play. 3rd down 4 for the Springdale Bulldogs. We're under 1 minute to play. Springdale takes their time to come up to the line of scrimmage. Big Rick Hammonds turns around to wipe his hands. This could be the last play of the game. Williams hands off inside, and it's going to be a 1st and 10 play. That'll stop the clock. Tim McDonald made the 1st and 10. The Bulldogs drive down inside Fayetteville territory. That's going to be the last play of the game. Springdale Bulldogs are going to get revenge for last year's upset at the hands of Fayetteville. It was a field tailor-made for the Bulldogs, a muddy field, and the Bulldogs won this game and have erased a lot of bad taste in their mouth after a tough season. A celebration has begun. There's still 5 seconds left. We're going to go to Brian Cody at the end of the game, I think. And that's the end. The Springdale Bulldogs have won this game 12-0, and we're going to hope to get Brian Cody with the report. No indication yet. I think we're going to stick with it here. Well, it's a great day for the Springdale Bulldogs. They defeated a very determined Fayetteville group who came out and played tough in the 2nd half, but it was just too much. 12 points was all it took on a night like tonight, and Springdale Bulldogs have got back on the win side of this series between their arch rival, the Fayetteville Bulldogs, and so it ends the season for Springdale as they finish the year and as the players do some wild things, diving in the mud. They finish the season at 3-6, and it's been a great game, good way to end it. Well, we're thankful that you are with us tonight, and we're going to try to get things rolled up and put up and dried out for next season. We hope that you'll be with us once again. For all of us here at TB21, we appreciate you watching. Thanks, and you have a good evening.